Okay. Are we ready? ¿Listos? Sí? Okay. So my name is Max Newlon. I'm the president of BrainCo USA. We are a neuroscience company that started in the Harvard Innovation Lab that have developed some pretty unique technology that we're applying in the education space. And so my talk today is mostly about this thing. And the space that BrainCo operates in is called the brain-machine interface industry. So let's break that down. What does that mean? Brain-machine interface. The technology that we've developed links what's going on in here with what's going on out there. And when you establish this link, you can tap into some really powerful insights. And we're not alone in this pursuit. In fact, brain-machine interface technology is considered the next frontier of technology after artificial intelligence. And maybe you guys recognize a couple of these people up here. Does anyone know who that is? Elon Musk, smart man. Elon Musk is developing a brain-machine interface technology that gets implanted inside your brain. Now, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to implant any technology in our students' brain to learn about how they're learning, but it's really interesting technology for the medical space. And how about this guy? Who's this? This one's easier. Mark Zuckerberg. You guys have Facebook? Yes. This is the man you have to blame for all the wasted hours that you spend on Facebook. But, really interestingly, Facebook is investing millions of dollars in developing their own brain-machine interface technology. And maybe one day, if we're really lucky and BrainCo becomes very successful, you'll see my picture up here too. So brain-machine interface technology is the forefront of what's coming next. And by the end of this talk, you guys will have a deep appreciation of what's possible when we apply this technology in the classroom. Now, BrainCo didn't start in the education space. In fact, we started in the prosthetic space. And I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking to you guys about our history and our background so you can see the trajectory of this technology. So we apply neuroscience technology to produce the world's most affordable AI-powered prosthetic hand. And the reason is a lot of the people out there, the amputees who have lost their limb, need a more affordable solution. Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars, we're creating an incredibly affordable solution for them to use in their daily life. And so I want to play a quick video to show you guys what this type of technology, the type of impact it can have on someone's life. So one of the first people to use this technology is a man named Min-Chung Ni. Min-Chung is a double amputee. It means he's lost both of his arms, but he's also a really accomplished athlete. He didn't let this slow him down. And so when we met him, we wanted to see what his life would be like if we could share this technology with him. So here's a quick video about Min-Chung.
我叫倪敏成，来自中国浙江庞安的一个小山村，觉得能够跟大家一样，就是生活的比较自如吧。但是我做一些平常很习惯的一些事情，偶尔会出现一些差错。那时候我就觉得会有一些不便，这个时候要是有双手的话，就会觉得特别好。
我们之所以做这个项目呢，是因为在中国就有2000到3000万肢体残疾的朋友，而目前来说呢，这个智能假肢的价格大概要几十万人民币。而我们的目标呢，就是说研发出世界上第一支这个由人工智能驱动的智能假肢，然后我们的目标是把这个价格降到原来的1/20。
现在市面上的假肢的控制方式很类似于一种机器，它并不是用户想要做什么动作，这个假肢就能做什么动作，它需要经过复杂的选择才能去选到你想要做的动作。但我们的假肢不一样，我们设计了自己独特的算法、传感器和机械结构。用户想要做什么动作，我只要去想，肌肉去发力，这样假肢就会做出相应的动作。那个刚拿机手的时候，确实挺惊讶的。最开始他很惊喜，但是他也有一点怀疑。
接触了之后，我觉得这个项目 特别的神奇，这几乎都是说做梦都不敢想的事情，怎么可能去控制自己去控制这个手指，而且可以控制它抓握东西，而且可以使用它。
让我最开心的时候就是倪大哥在我们重新就是设计过我们的算法，重新设计过很多次之后，
比较开心的事情还是很多。比如说我来到这里之后，我们组的俊谦、穆雷，他们会带我去吃啊，带我去玩啊，带我去一个新的地方，我都会特别开心。
我们的目标是让更多像倪老师这样的朋友能够使用这个智能假肢回到日常生活当中来。
我希望这个智能假肢切切实实的能够帮我做现在没有假肢的情况下做的这些事情，所以我特别希望这个产品能够早一点出来。
Through working with Min Chung, we've been able to refine the design even more and lower the cost. And I just got back from China 2 days ago. I flew in from China to Spain, and I visited the factory where they're starting the mass manufacturing for this product. So very soon we're going to be able to get this into the lives of people who need it most. There's one other young lady that I want to highlight who we've been able to help with this technology. And she came to us when she heard about this project, and she told us her dream, which was to be able to play the piano. So we worked with her over several months. She trained very, very hard to learn how to control the hand, and an opportunity came up for her to play alongside one of China's most famous pianists. And so they organized the event, got it on national TV in front of millions of people. So we were a little nervous because she was going to be using the technology live in front of all these people. But I want to show you a 1-minute clip of her performance using her hand to play the piano. And the reason why I'm showing you guys these videos is to convey the power that this type of technology has. So we took our wisdom, we took our knowledge from the prosthetic, and we started to apply it to an even more complex problem, which is the brain. And the population that we decided to try to help is a population that you guys are probably quite familiar with. So in the United States, we have something called ADHD. In Spain, I think you guys call it TDAH, is that right? Do you guys have students that you work with who have this condition? Do you have even more students that maybe have trouble paying attention? All right. So we thought, well, what would it be like if we could apply this technology to strengthen that muscle of focus? So we started applying our expertise in neuroscience to solve this problem. Now I'm going to give you a really quick neuroscience 101 lesson so that you can understand how this works. So right now your brain is giving off electrical signals. This very second, those electrical signals are making their way to your scalp. So if you put your finger on your scalp, now you can't feel them, I'm just joking. But those electrical signals have different features or different characteristics. So when you're sleeping, you see a lot more slow brain waves. And when you're awake but relaxed, they're a little bit faster. And when you're very engaged, they're much quicker. And so by measuring and reinforcing or supporting someone when they get into the more focused brain state, you can help build this muscle. And this type of training, this type of biofeedback training, has actually been available for quite some time. The issue is that although there's a massive population of people who need this type of training, it's very expensive. You have to drive to the clinic to do it. The types of hardware or devices that these clinicians use are kind of big and clunky. I'll show you some pictures later. And also the training is a little bit boring. So our first step into applying this technology was to address each one of these pain points. And so we did so by lowering the cost making sure that people could use this training at home, made sure that it only took a few seconds to get set up instead of half an hour, and also made sure that the gaming is really fun. And the gaming component is actually the most important, because it doesn't matter how good your technology is. If no one's going to use it, then you're not going to have the impact that you want, of course. So to make it really fun, we did something kind of unique. Who knows what this is? Raise your hand. Wow, you guys are very honest. Sometimes when I ask people this question, they're very bashful, they don't want to raise their hand. Maybe one person does, and then everyone feels comfortable and everyone starts raising their hand. You guys are very, very honest. Yeah, this is a super fun game. It's a race car game, but we thought, what if we could make it controlled with your brain? What if you could do Mario Kart, but controlled with your brain? So we did a little coding, and we set Mario Kart up so that the more focused you become, the faster the car goes. So if I want to win this game, what do I have to do? I have to constantly get my brain into that more focused state. And through this practice, this mental muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So we gave the headset, we gave Mario Kart to this one family, taught them how to use it, kicked them out of the office, told them to go play it for 5 weeks and come back after. And we did these clinical measures before and after the test, and we saw symptoms reduced by 22%. Now, this is in no way a treatment for ADHD, but we saw the symptoms associated with this condition reduced drastically. So right now we're wrapping up our follow-up study with 25 families across the United States, and this is going to be done in the next 1 or 2 weeks to replicate these types of findings, to see if we can help these students gain better control over their brain activity. This is not my slide. But this gives me a moment to kind of set you guys up for the biggest mission that we've gone on, the biggest adventure, and the space that we've learned the most about using this technology. And it's the reason why I'm here today. It's to talk about how we can use neuroscience technology in the classroom to improve learning outcomes. So while we have a minute, I have a question for you guys. How do you measure student engagement in the classroom? How do you tell who's engaged and who's not? Yes, your eyes, eye contact. How am I trying to understand who's engaged and who's not right now? What am I looking for? Eye contact, that's a really good answer. What else? Participation, yes. And what about if you saw someone sitting like this, or someone sitting like this? Yeah, body language. Now, the interesting thing about all of these ways that we measure engagement is that they're all based on our feelings or our intuition. And I think that as teachers, we do a pretty good job understanding who's engaged and who's not. The issue that we started to uncover was it's not really fair to only be using our feelings or our intuition to understand student engagement. For example, you wouldn't go to a doctor and have them prescribe you medication solely based on their feelings or their intuition. Or I hope not. I hope you'd find a new doctor that relied on science and measurement to understand what's the best course of action for their patients. So we wanted to deliver the same level of measurements to teachers to see what would happen in the classroom. But let me take a little step back and talk a little bit more about who we are. So we're a bunch of nerdy people from Harvard and MIT who have assembled a team of over 100 people across China and the United States. We have backgrounds in education, in neuroscience, in artificial intelligence, and we got together to solve this big problem. This problem of how do we actually measure student engagement. And one of the first things that we discovered was how terrible student engagement is in the classroom right now. This was the results of a study of nearly 1 million students in the United States. And what they found was for the majority of students, they're either not engaged or they're actively disengaged. Do you guys know what actively disengaged means? It's that student in your class that's actively trying to escape what's happening in front of them. They just really don't want to be there. And so, of course, if someone's not engaged, then they're not going to be learning. So we knew that student engagement was really low. And this next research study really showed us what could be possible if we could improve student engagement. And this next study used another sample size of about 350,000 students across the United States. And it found something very simple, but very powerful. This study found that if you could increase student engagement by just 1%, you got a 6% increase in reading scores and 8% improvement in math scores. So it's this incredibly powerful lever for change. If we can only increase student engagement just a little bit, we're going to really bolster test scores. But it's actually not just about test scores. If you think about a time when you were growing up, sometime in grade school, maybe think of your favorite teacher. Think of a class when they really had you engaged, when you were sitting on the edge of your seat and you were just absorbing everything that was going on in that classroom. That's when you're engaged. So it's not just about creating better test scores, it's also about improving the learning and teaching experience. Because for students to be in that state is very rewarding, and it's also rewarding for teachers as well. So we were setting out on this mission to figure out how to measure student engagement, and that's where we came across this massive gap in data for teachers and for other professionals. In fact, Bill Gates gave a TED Talk just about this, where he said teachers are some of the only professionals that don't get the feedback they need to improve at their jobs. How do we tell if we're doing something that's improving our skills or not? We use our intuition and our feelings to tell if people are engaged. We have to wait for test scores to come out. Maybe it's different in this school, but in the United States, once or twice a year, the teachers will get a little report on how well they're doing. And it's either needs to improve, okay, or good, but that's it. So we wanted to draw on our experience of neuroscience, draw on these research studies showing how important student engagement was, and produce a solution. Because we thought to ourselves, what would it be like if we could quantify student engagement? If I could look out into my class and see if what I was doing was actually capturing people's attention, or if I needed to switch topics or switch strategies to re-engage my class. What would that be like if you could actually see that data? So Brainco has created the world's first brain-based solution to measure student engagement in real time. And later today, during one of the sessions this afternoon, a few of you guys will actually be able to use this technology. So I'm going to show you a quick clip to show you what this type of technology might look like in the classroom. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit more about how good we have it right now. Because before, the technology used to look like this. Can you imagine trying to get your students to put this on? It takes about 30 minutes to get set up. You have to put some electrode cream in your hair. It's kind of like a shampoo that you have to wash out afterwards. And it doesn't look that cool. And if we've learned something, if you want students to use your technology, it has to look cool. So we made key innovations in how we acquire the data, the design of the device, how we process the data, and how we display it to teachers. And we took the technology from looking like this to looking like this. So this is the Focus One headband. And this is the technology, like I mentioned, that a few of you guys will be able to use later today. So here's a quick clip to demonstrate the concept. See if you recognize anyone in this video.
When students use the Focus One, teachers can immediately tell when their students are in a low attention state or high attention state. With Focus One, teachers are notified if a real-time classroom average attention level drops too low. They can then re-engage their students. When students are in group discussions or working on team projects, teachers can easily observe all of their students' attention levels from one place. With this information, they can give individualized attention to those who need it most.
My twin brother is handsome, huh? If this doesn't work out, I'm going to go to Hollywood, just become an actor. I think that could work out. So we started to test this concept. We thought it would be empowering for teachers to get this data, but we needed to make sure that we were correct and that the science backed up what we were doing. So we started to see what would happen if we introduced this technology very slowly in the classroom in very controlled ways to minimize how teachers use the technology and make sure that we protect the identities of the students that are using it and really only deliver the pieces of information that are necessary for improving learning outcomes. So we started to see test scores go up. We started to see that students' level of engagement directly predicted test scores. So instead of needing to wait to give out a test and see the results to understand comprehension, I can give you a second-by-second measure of how engaged someone is, and that will predict how well they'll do on the test. So if you start to see engagement drop, you can re-engage those students and guarantee that they're going to be more engaged and absorb more of the material. We saw massive differences in classes that were taught by the exact same teacher that used our system or didn't use our system. And we're really happy that MIT decided to step in, take our technology into their lab, and test it themselves. And they found some really incredible results, supporting the notion that if you simply re-engage students when their attention level drops in a very gentle way, you can increase test scores and increase engagement. It's really that simple. If you just check in with someone when they start to drift off, not only will they be more engaged, but their test scores will start to increase. So the science was backing up what we were doing, but I imagine that you have some questions popping up in your head right now. So I'm going to answer those questions for you. The answer to your first question is no. We cannot read your mind. If we could read your mind, I wouldn't be here. I would be in Malaga, sipping vino tinto, throwing money in the air, laughing for the rest of my life. We'd be very, very rich, but it's just not possible. It's just not possible. You can't read people's minds with this technology. You also can't identify anybody. I could look at all of your brain data in the world and I'd have no idea who you are. You can't diagnose any medical conditions. You can't understand people's emotions. All we're measuring is engagement and relaxation. Engagement and relaxation. That's all we're measuring. And some people say, well, is it safe to use this type of technology? You're putting something on your head. And we always bring up the fact that cell phones actually use Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular data, and we feel very comfortable talking on cell phones. The headband is a magnitude weaker than a cell phone. It just uses a simple Wi-Fi signal. And we've passed testing with CE, with FCC, with the FDA. So it's this incredibly safe technology that, in fact, has been around for hundreds of years. We've just made some key innovations to bring it into the classroom. And I think in part the reason why we've been so successful is because the technology delivers value to each of the stakeholders in education. There are some tools that we use in the classroom that are really good for students. They're really good for students. Or some tools that are really good for teachers. But if you can deliver value across all of the stakeholders, then you have something magical. So when students use the system, they actually gain better control over their ability to focus and to relax. Similar to the Mario Kart game I showed you guys before. For teachers, of course, they're getting data on what's working and what's not in the classroom. So they can continuously improve, continuously tweak how they build their skills and engage their students better. Administrators can figure out the best practices that are happening in their school and actively promote that more teachers use these proven methods of engaging their students. And of course, parents feel confident knowing that their teachers that they're sending their children to are always improving. They're always getting feedback on how they can become a better and better teacher. And so we've seen this spread all over the world. In fact, we have use cases in over 14 countries now. And one of the interesting things that we heard back from some of the teachers using this was it wasn't just the technology, it wasn't just helping the students. The thing that really struck some of these schools was about growth mindset. Do you guys know about this concept, growth mindset? Have you guys heard about this? It's the notion that we're not just fixed with the skills that we have and we have to make do. It's the notion that, in fact, through effort and through self-reflection, we can get better at what we're doing. And so what these teachers commented on was that it empowered students to see their attention on the screen and see how they could control it, and that they were actually in the driver's seat, that students themselves were empowered to focus better, and that this would lead to all these different types of outcomes that we've been talking about. Now, so far, I've been telling you all this. This is coming from me. I'm a trustworthy guy. You guys can believe me, trust me. But, of course, it helps if you can hear from a third-party source, if you can hear from someone outside of BrainCo to talk about this technology. And if you wanted someone to talk about your education technology, you'd be hard-pressed to find someone better than this. This is James Ryan. He's the dean, or he was the dean of the Harvard Graduate School of Education while I was a student there. He's since moved on to be the president of the University of Virginia. And while I was a student at Harvard, I really looked up to this guy. Incredible speaker, incredible leader, very compassionate. And so when I started working at BrainCo, I thought, how amazing would it be if I could talk to him about this technology and get his feedback? Or how amazing would it be if he could even be our advisor and really help us take this to the next level? So I sat down at work one day, and I spent 8 hours writing one email to James Ryan. I made sure every single part of that email was perfect. The subject line, the punctuation, the sentences weren't too long or too short. I wasn't being too nice or not nice enough. I thought about things from his perspective. I really tried to make sure I could connect with him. And after 8 hours of writing this email, revising it 100 times, I finally hit send. And the next day, nothing. One more day passes, and he actually gets back to me. He replies and says, "Hey Max, not sure how I can help, but I'd be interested in having a conversation with you." So we schedule a time to talk, and we go back and forth with his schedule. You know, he's a busy guy. He's running the education school at Harvard, and we finally land a meeting where we can go to his office. So I get all dressed up, go back to my alma mater, go back to where I went to school. I'm feeling a little nervous, going to go meet with the dean of Harvard, and I go into his office, and we start talking. And things are going pretty well. We're talking about education, education technology, starting to talk about BrainCo a little bit. The conversation starts leaning in this direction, and then I pop the big question: will you be our advisor? And he says, "Max, I need to stop you there." I say, "Okay." He says, "You know, I'm the dean of Harvard. I'm a really busy guy. I get asked every single week to be on the advisory board of some startup. I get asked every single week to be on the board of directors, the board of advisors for some nonprofit or some company. And you know what I always say? No." So my hands start to sweat a little bit more. I'm like, "Okay, where's this going?" And then he said, "But the technology that you guys have in your hands has the potential to change how we think about education, and I would be honored to be your advisor." And so BrainCo is the first and only company that James Ryan has agreed to advise. So obviously, I was elated, and I needed to talk to him more about why he made the decision to help us out. So we sat down and we talked for a little while about education, education technology, talked a little bit about BrainCo. I want to play you a 1-minute video from that conversation.
So I think that the very best uses of technology in classrooms are uses that allow teachers to do things differently. There are plenty of uses of technology that allow teachers in classrooms to function just as they have before, but maybe more efficiently and more quickly. I think that's fine. But to me, the real breakthroughs are going to come with a technology that allows, say, for personalization, or technology like the technology that BrainCo is making and producing that allows you to gain insight into information that might lead you to teach differently. That to me is the real frontier, and that to me is the most promising use of technology.
So what are the key takeaways from James Ryan's comments? It's that technology that leads to personalization and technology that leads us to teach differently is what's really going to make a difference in the classroom. And so that's what we've designed. We've designed a system that gives feedback to teachers that leads them to teach differently. We've designed a system that gives you data so that you can personalize your approach to different students in your classes in different ways to really connect with them to maximize student engagement. And so we've been deploying this in the classroom, and then something really interesting happened. We were at one of the world's largest technology conferences in Las Vegas called CES. There are, I don't know, maybe 600,000 people there. And we happened to run into one company in particular who had a vision for how we might be able to apply this technology in a new way. They didn't want to just use it in the classroom with the teachers, even though they saw the impact of our research studies and everything. They wanted to pair it with an existing education technology to optimize what was already working, to take an education technology that has having an impact on students' lives and pair it with neuroscience to superpower it, to supercharge it. And so we started this relationship with this company called Progrentus, and we sought out to see how we might be able to improve learning outcomes even more when you pair a learning technology that has proven effectiveness and you add neuroscience technology to it. So we've been partnering over the course of this past year to conduct the world's largest brainwave education research study in history. And we've been doing this in the United States, we've been doing this in Mexico, we've been doing this here in Spain and Guatemala, all over the world, collecting data to see what is possible when you combine neuroscience with effective education technology tools. So I have one more video that I want to play for you guys to explain this concept and explain this project. So through this partnership, we've been able to learn more about what really engages students, what type of teaching methods click best for different types of learners. As the video was describing, some people are more auditory, some people are more visual, but when you have this neuroscience data, it actually leads you to connect with students with where they are. And that's what we're calling the NeuroLab concept, using neuroscience technology to enhance education outcomes. And we call it the NeuroLab for a very specific reason. If you guys remember in the 1980s and 1990s, schools were getting this brand new technology that no one had really seen before called computers. And a few schools started to adopt it, and now, of course, every single school is using computer and computer technology to teach differently, help students learn differently, and to enhance education outcomes. And so we view this technology as the next version of the computer lab. The neuro lab is the place where students can go to learn how to self-regulate, to learn how to enter states of calm and meditation, to learn how to enter states of focus, to enhance their learning. It's the place where teachers can go to reflect on their teaching practices and understand how they can constantly improve. And it's the place in your school where learning is constantly optimized. And so when we think about the future of neuroscience and education, we have a very clear vision to use easy-to-use technology to uncover what's truly engaging so that we can improve education outcomes for students everywhere. Thank you guys very much.